Salute to all the real ones out there. It's your boy Mike coming at you again with another video. Y'all like the content I've been dropping in direction on my channel was headed in. I need you to like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos with anybody else you think may benefit from them, alright? Now, today's topic is basically going to be called hyperbolic time chamber. Hyperbolic time chamber. And for anybody that used to watch Dragonball Z back in the day, this was a cartoon where some of the characters, whenever they were like faced with an unbelievable challenge, they would reach into like the deepest parts of their soul to really train to the hardest that they were capable. And there was this time chamber that was, it was basically a little capsule that they could go inside of. And when they would do so, it was almost like they were in a mysterious dimension where time is compressed to the point that one day would be like 1 year. So effectively, I go in there and I train all crazy for 1 whole year in my mind, but really it's just 1 full day that passes when I step out of the capsule or the time chamber. And there were settings that you were able to manipulate. Of course, this being a fictional cartoon, but you could make, for example, the gravity 10 times normal strength, 100 times normal strength, so on and so forth, right? So imagine doing a push-up when you haven't trained in a while. It's already a little bit hard with your body weight, especially if you're going for maximum reps. But imagine now it's 2 times gravity, 5 times gravity. You know, and you have some of the Dragon Ball Z characters in there upside down, holding themselves with balanced handstand, doing push-ups back to back. So imagine how strong it makes you, right? Then it had, in the hyperbolic time chamber, extreme heat, extreme cold, 1/4 of Earth's normal air pressure, you know what I mean? So you're getting that high quality lung capacity, similar to when you have football players that train at a high elevation versus those who are in like a different coastal area. They have different lung capacities, right? And long story short, it just allows one to conduct intense training at a high level in a very limited time span, right? So I say all that to say this, like, the hyperbolic time chamber is similar to periods of when you're in isolation and solitude, all right? At least how it goes for me. You know, not getting too heavy into like numerology or anything like that, but like I'm a person who, I've even done research on like my astrological birth chart, right? And I have like 4 planets actually in the 12th house. So I literally embody the concept of a death and a rebirth. I embody the idea of someone disappearing for a long period of time, leveling up in numerous ways, and then returning back on the scene as like a rebirth version of my own self. So that's why I want to talk about hyperbolic time chamber, because I talked about it in one of the videos before where I was mentioning how humans have a pleasure and pain, let's say, balance in their brain. And in previous generations, there was a strong inclination for people to lean towards delayed gratification, meaning that you would plug away for a long time in order to get a reward of your liking. You know, and across the board, it was much more painful, and there was more of a struggle in order for you to really gain some of the things that we just take for granted now. Like say for example, in education, there was no real way to shortchange the education. You didn't have ChatGPT. You didn't have, let's say, Google and all these search portals where you can just lazily ask the search engine whatever question and then get numerous results that you can now filter through to determine, oh, that's the right answer. Back in the day, what was it like when you had to research something? You had to pick up a book. You needed to go to the library. And if they didn't have the resources available, you either needed to go to another location or you had to place an order, right? Look at it in dating or, you know, courting a woman. Back then, you had to actually walk up to her, approach, or you had to meet through a mutual friend or someone that attended the church or a friend of your family thought that you two would be a good match. Like there was this engagement that happened where y'all came together personally. Then you had to maybe take her out on date, get to know her. And even back in the day, there was a period where the men in her family had to screen you before you could even take it to the next step. Now look at everything. You have all these dating channels. You have all these dating apps where people could just basically, without ever even putting the work in of like making themselves an attractive mate, they can just have a bunch of pictures that are up and use that as bait to talk to numerous people that maybe on the street they wouldn't even have the courage to approach. So, like, the thing I'm trying to emphasize in this video with hyperbolic time chamber is the emphasis on leaning towards pain. The things that are hard to achieve, delayed gratification, sacrificing now so that you can benefit later. With no struggle, there can be no progress. And that's literally tatted on my forearms, man. So, the way I look at the hyperbolic time chamber, it's a mental state that I put myself in order to gain traction in a world that is heavily bombarded with distraction, right? So the reason why I do this is because, for one, I get to accomplish many goals, all right? We are in a time where the average person is so detached from their own destiny because at the touch of a button on your phone, you have unparalleled and unfathomable levels of novelty. A person like me didn't even get affected by the TikTok ban because I never even downloaded the app. I already deleted my Facebook. I already been off of Instagram, and what I have is an ample amount of time where I could really accomplish goals, and I can use that same energy that would get dissipated into looking at whatever app into plugging away at like tangible goals that will actually gain me serious traction as I go forward in life. For example, the reading quota. I told you guys about this numerous times. Reading 25 books a year, all right, all nonfiction, dealing with language, finance, relationships, philosophy, mentorship, self-improvement, health, fitness, let's say international mindset, developing markets. Like things like this are what would tickle my fancy. And when I have ample time away from apps that shorten your attention span, and I'm able to, let's say, take a two-hour block every day and do significant amounts of reading where I'm really engaged in what is before me, this results in me actually just accomplishing more goals. And I'm not even just talking about on a professional level or something like that. Even on a personal level, a spiritual level, a maturation level. There are so many different things that I'm able to plug away at because I have enough time when I'm not working to, let's say, line things up with my goals. Secondly, being in the hyperbolic time chamber mentally, it allows you to set a high bar or a high standard for yourself. And this, I feel like there's really no drawbacks. Like looking your best, feeling your best, working on becoming your best, always seeing to it that you keep a tight appearance, always seeing to it that you are doing something that will, let's say, advance you. You already heard one of my famous video, the most popular one on my channel is cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And having like these routines where you show self-love by, keeping your skin on point, your hair on point, eating clean, real whole foods. Let's say developing the habit of reading for hours a day, picking up maybe a different language, like all these things that stretch your limits has to do with you having a high standard for yourself. Because the average person is going to sit here and tell you that he doesn't have enough time or that he's cooked after work. Like the last thing he wants to do is now dive his mind into an hour or two of like deep focus on something that will maybe gain him benefit down the line, but we know that the average person goes with the path of least resistance. So that's the second aspect. Like setting high standards for yourself literally coincides with being in a hyperbolic time chamber. You go into the gym, push your limits. You know what I mean? You going for a run, see if you can maybe this last 20 meters just give it all you got. Like I feel like the comfort zone is death by 1,000 paper cuts, and so many people die from such a fate. Of course, third point of having a mental hyperbolic time chamber is going to be you will cut so many distractions. And I'm not even going to talk about that too much, except for the simple fact that in my video, Beautiful Dangers of Expansion, I mentioned that like when you cut distractions for real, you will be a little bit of an alien compared to the average person, because the average person is heavily distracted, even to the point where when you try to engage with them, let's say with an organic conversation, you're being creative, you're picking up cues in the room, and you decide you just want to have a conversation with this person, you'll notice that there are certain subtleties that you could pick up on, as well as the obvious things that show you that this person inside doesn't have peace. Their eyes are cutting everywhere. Like they can't stay focused on just one thing because their brain has been scattered from so much exposure to distractions. And dude, this isn't like the distractions of back when we were, let's say, kids. I'm an 80s baby. Of course, I'm going to be 40 this year. So my mindset is going to be much different than someone who's in their 20s. I got that. But let's say if I was 15, 14 years old, my distractions were, I would say, minuscule compared to what a 15-year-old in 2025 has to combat. I mean, my social circle shit after school, if you didn't have a side job or something like that, you were grabbing your bike, not even having to call or organize anything ahead of time. You knew there was just a high probability that if you went to a park on a good day and you were like me wanting to play basketball or something like that, you could just literally pull up. You don't even need to bring a ball. There's probably going to be so many people outside, and y'all going to be out there for at least 2-3 hours just running games back to back. You didn't bring water. You didn't bring Gatorade and all that. You just went out there and just played and sweat and got into it, and it was competitive and all that. Think about how it would be now. Take that same neighborhood I grew up in. Get up on your bike at 15 years old. Ride up to the park and see if there's anybody even out there. I highly doubt it now, right? Because everybody is going to be on their phone or on some type of device being very distracted. Another point about, let's say, leaning towards pain and having a mental hyperbolic time chamber that you are using to level yourself up. You will inspire others, all right? And this is something that I've seen firsthand. Like, I'm a dude who I just mentioned has cut myself pretty much off of social media. Outside of like this YouTube page, I'm not really making moves on social media because I understand that it is a way to siphon off a lot of your energy and time. And the only way that I see myself making it like a return to social media is if it's for some type of purpose, whether it be business or I'm using it to somehow add benefit to my life, But until then, I see no use for it. But you will inspire others because, like I said, I'm one of those guys who's off of social media. So when I pop up actually in real life, it's going to beg the question, damn, what have you been up to? Because you look how you feel how you look, I'm not perfect, everybody has their flaws and stuff. But when you have good habits and you're doing these things I'm talking about, you keep yourself in the hyperbolic time chamber. How can you not, let's say, bring an energy and an aura that's undeniable, especially when the overall gamut of people that pass by are distracted and detached from, let's say, a higher purpose. When you have a quota to read this many books, when you have a quota to work out so many times per week, when you have the ability to say no to snacks, to sugar, to all this other stuff, when you know how to focus on, let's say, some type of developmental skill that's going to allow you to leverage yourself so that you make more money. And like I said, when you stay up on the trends of, let's say, how the markets develop across different countries, and you know how to put your money in accounts that will grow you interest, or you know how to invest in stocks, or what, all these things you don't have to talk about in public. You're doing them in the hyperbolic time chamber. So when you actually sit down across from somebody that maybe hasn't seen you in a few months because you've been off the scene, best believe that they're going to be very inspired by you. Even if they don't mention it, your aura is undeniable. Another part about this, the hyperbolic time chamber, right? Every night you're going to be able to rest easy. And you'll probably fall asleep just like that because you know you've been pushing your limits. You know, when you get up, let's say in my case, I got to go to work. You know, I'll tell you straight up, I got to be at work at like 4 in the morning, right? I leave at like 2:30. I'm already up at like 12:45. Make my bed, shave, do what I got to do, lay all my stuff out for this upcoming work day. I directly hit the gym. This is like 6 days a week, you know what I mean? So I know I'm going to beat my quota this year because I'm already past what I was every year since starting this quota. You know what I mean? I'm already past this since I'm working out 6 days a week. The minimum or the goal is just 3. But yo, hit the gym, do some yoga. Right now I'm focused on just calisthenics. I'm not doing anything crazy with like heavy weights or anything like that. It's all calisthenics, all body work. So then I go to work. Of course I'm wide awake, ready to hit the ground running. Attack the day, carpe diem, another video reference, right? Do my thing, reach for the limits, right? I have a high standard. Best believe when I come home, it's going to be the same flow. Get my uniform off, clean up, make sure I got everything lined up for the next work day. Maybe even cut up my fruit or my salad for what I'm going to bring with, right? Cook myself dinner like 85% of the time. Here and there I might order, but you guys get my drift. Shower, change. Like I'm doing all these things, and when it's time for me to lay down, you best believe I go out like a light, because every single day I have that energy that I'm actually pushing for the things that matter. So you best believe like it's real easy for me to breathe easy at night because I'm always pushing my own limits. I take every single day as an opportunity to seize the day. And last but not least, you know, you have the ability to accelerate all of your blessings when you have a mental hyperbolic time chamber. Because once again, energy is undeniable. And the world is effectively a mirror of your own consciousness at any given point. So if you're a person who is literally doing all these things that I'm mentioning here, you are going to feel great about yourself. You're going to feel powerful in a world where your power is being siphoned from so many different places. And as you walk with your shoulders back, your head up, chin up, and you feel confident about where you're going because every day you put in physical work to get closer to those goals, I feel like the universe recognizes who puts in this type of effort and begins to orchestrate things unbeknownst to you so that your blessings come at a faster pace. Right? So isn't it painstakingly obvious that the world needs more men who actually have fire in their hearts, right? People who actually have sharp minds that actually blaze trails to inspire others. I mean, I say yes. I say that is the case. We're in a time where it would be very good if there were more men who attempted this, you know, attempted to be in a hyperbolic time chamber, even if it's just mentally, in order to like somewhat raise the standard of what is expected of men. Like right now we are being decimated because there is definitely an all-out assault on masculinity, but I feel we'll win in the end by being the change that we want to see. All right, so hyperbolic time chamber. I'll holler at y'all in the next one.